Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is well. I know we've got people joining us from all over, so it might not be morning for everyone, but hopefully it is. Welcome to the African Deal Makers Journey. And we are having a fireside conversation with Vishal Agarwal. Vishal, I have had a look at your credentials and the list is endless. So I am not going to introduce you.
That's
I
just
would
me
love
showing my age.
No, you look great. I'm going to allow you to do an introduction, if that's okay. Um, who you are, your focus areas, etc.
So hello, everybody. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Tech Position. I'm a former partner of PwC. I ran the Africa-wide deals business. Subsequently, I was a senior leader at General Electric. After a 25-year corporate career, I did what most people should do, step off the bus, write a book, and in my case, I decided to set up a proprietary investment firm. It's a holding structure I call Full Circle. And I do three things. I'm an active angel VC. I've been an angel for perhaps a decade, and I sort of actively invest in African growth companies, startups that are tech enabled in nature, that are Pan-African in their outlook. And these tend to be sort of seed rounds to about a A/B round. I seldom come in before there is a proof of concept or pre-revenue, and I seldom stay after a institutional investor is on board, as in beyond a B, excuse me, beyond a B round. I also have some commercial real estate investments in my portfolio, and I'm a late career enthusiast in hospitality. I have a growing amount of hospitality assets, perhaps because of my love for food.
Great. I'm in great company, me too, Vishal. Um, okay, lovely. Thank you for that intro there. Okay, in terms of like your investments, would you like to delve into that a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Look, the outset, my career journey has been I transacted in the infrastructure space. And as time went by, I realized in my own personal journey, the early stage risk in a infrastructure deal for me was akin to the early stages of what a startup founder goes through, or a early stage investor goes through. So I really kind of enjoyed that and finding that similarity. So I'll come in at the early stages where I could add a lot of value to a founder. Um, African founders in our region have been able to sadly tell the tale of how their safari seeking expat brethren get faster and quicker investments than they do.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think it's local investors like us that have, I wouldn't say a duty of care, that sounds very bank-like, but a mentor responsibility to open up our Rolodexes, and help these folks, get to the next level in their journey. And for me, it's not remotely philanthropy, it's not remotely charity, it's not remotely a situation that in a patronizing way I'm helping anybody. This is my version of our best fruits and vegetables shall not go to a Marks and Spencer's without coming to my dinner table.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so important. Yeah, I like that. I wanted to talk to you about your investment successes and challenges within Africa.
Uh, okay. So my investment, you don't ask for failures, but I shall talk about failure.
Okay, you can add failures to it.
And I would sort of say it as failure is relative. I don't count it necessarily in dollars and cents as much as impact. So
Sure.
one of my early full circle investments about 3-ish years ago was backing founders that were not local,
Mm.
that were able to tell the tale of INSEAD and Harvard or London Business School, I forget, and raise money in a fairly quick, short, speed dating manner from me. Um, and it's a failure because I failed to see, as hard as I might have looked at, African founders,
Mm.
and and it was a failure because the overall impact I could make with that investment in terms of what they were doing for accountability, what they were doing for taking advice, but what they were able to do in terms of leveraging my network that I was offering them every day was apples and oranges compared to what I find, more later stage African entrepreneurs do. My startup founders today are more hungrier, more humble, and more um, willing to learn and grow than that set of founders
Sure.
who perhaps knew everything out of their business school degrees um, and were not accountable, frankly speaking. And
Right.
and and I was pretty happy to be able to exit that investment. I did so during COVID, uh,
Okay.
and I got my money back.
Oh, that's good.
But
That's really,
it was a failure on my part that taught me a lot. And while I can count some success stories, I think I'd like to talk about that failure more than the 5, 6, 7 time multiples that is also happening in the portfolio today.
sure. And I know you want to focus on the failures, but it's really important. Why do you think the companies that you have invested in are succeeding and doing well?
I think that it's a few things. It's it's largely them.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's largely them. It's the founders. It's the problem solving that they brought to the table. So someone brought me a betting company recently, and I said, "Well, what is this problem?" Someone
Mm.
brought me just yesterday a Deliveroo um, for grocery store version, right? I said to them, isn't that called Amazon Fresh, right? I mean,
Okay.
what problem are you actually solving? There are enough of people in
Doing that.
Lagos or Accra or Nairobi or in Cape Town that can get a Boda guy to bring me groceries if that's what I want, whether I
Sure.
use a tech platform or not. So going back to your question, it's the problem solving, it's the founders, it's the business itself.
Yeah.
The second part is what someone like me and my network and my co-investors would bring to the table, right? How we might be able to open up our Rolodexes and add to their ability to get in front of multinational customers, financiers, our friends who might want to invest in them, hiring top talent for these companies through our networks, identifying top talent, problem solving for them in their darkest, deepest moment. I
Yeah.
think it's the ability for us to do that with that venture, meaning just because I can do it for some, it doesn't mean I can do it for all. So it's
Sure.
that pairing has to be right. And then I think that the last part of this is some amount of like-mindedness. No,
Yeah.
so if I'm giving, you must be able to leverage. If you're asking, I must be able to give. That spirit of that relationship, I think, is
Mm.
really important. Now, I've got a founder in my portfolio that might be the next big unicorn,
Sure.
and will return great returns to my smallish investment compared to where he's going. But the chemistry is pretty darn poor because
Mm.
that founder has got his success to his head and sees his future in the valley, sees his future in the next big deep pocketed European unicorn making private equity investor, as opposed to the guy that wrote him the first big check that
Sure.
that he's forgotten. So I
Sure.
think so. It is about that.
Yeah, collaboration, relationship. Yeah, all important.
Chemistry, chemistry.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. You can't buy chemistry, can you?
that's right.
Um, okay, I'm going to move on to key enablers. Yeah, and including policy considerations. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, businesses that are affected by policy considerations are businesses not worth investing in.
Mm,
Look,
mm.
maybe I'm simplifying it. Look, and I see my buddy Raj on here as well. Look, the guys like Raj and I have spent our lives, our career lives, working in a very tough market segment as an infrastructure. The regulatory pressures, the policy pressures, the political whims and fancies in that sector are like nothing else.
Mm,
In our everyday life of trying to venture invest and create the next big thing from Africa standpoint that'll create jobs and solve problems, let alone create wealth, we would prefer to stay away from policy. Having said that, I think we have a lot of fintech in our portfolios, which are full of regulatory issues and
yeah.
environment. So to try and find some simplification of that is really important to someone like me, and be able to translate that for our founders is really important. And I'm here to serve my portfolio and my founders, so I'm happy to help them wade through or navigate through some of those considerations.
Okay, thank you for that. We've got a question from your friend Raj. Um, on that note, if anybody else in the room has any questions, please do feel free to post that in the chat. So question is, how do you take an African startup out of its home market? That's a really good question. When, why, and how?
Look, I think the first piece of this is, as local investors, are we able to connect the dots, right?
Mm,
I think folks like ourselves are blessed with a network and success and um, a Rolodex and ability to reach people around the globe, right? To be able to see that in a holistic manner and connect those dots to our portfolio companies is a service that we must provide and be cognizant of. I mean, that's kind of the one thing that I look for all the time, that who do I know that I can connect this founder with, or
mm,
what technology do I know, or what company do I know? And likewise, I think, or market do I know? And likewise, I think that if we find the technologies and companies and opportunities in our friend circle that sits outside of Africa, to connect them back to our region is equally important. Raj and I were on a call just an hour ago with a company in Indonesia, and we found that while I'm Africa focused, what they had for technology has a great calling card for Africa. So to introduce them to our African portfolio startups
sure,
would add great value. So I think it's being able to connect the dots and
sure.
help them scale.
Yeah, brilliant. So you've answered the when, why, and the how there. Thank you so much. Okay, let's move on to, I've got founders here, the African founder landscape and challenges for African founders.
I think look, African founders, I feel, can be easily distracted. And let me
Mm,
let me explain. So a lot of the founders that I have seen in the last several years are very taken by the next big competition. And there is a whole community that goes from one competition to the next, from one accelerator to the next, right? And they make a whole journey out of that. So
mm,
for me that's bad stuff, because you're not paying attention to your business. There's a whole journey of that, and founders that kind of get distracted by what's the next big competition that I can apply for and get discovered, I think are not going down the right path. There's
sure.
the second category that is spending all its time playing a valuation game. It's like a pyramid scheme. They're just trying to find you for the next round, who's going to give you more money at X, and then keep playing that valuation game. That's also bad news for me, and I kind of run away from those founders. And there's a third category of founders who spend all their time whining about how, the expatriate or the white founders that are coming to the region from Harvard or wherever else are able to raise money, and they're not. They're again founders that I don't want to talk to.
Sure.
So who do I want to talk to? I want to talk to founders that are authentic, that are able to demonstrate that they're from the soil, that have built great companies or solving problems or uplifting other people or investing in other people, who are creating employment, who are reaching out to people like me in their backyard before they reach out to someone in the valley and
Yes.
say, hey, how, please, can I work with you? Or how can you help? Or whatever. I like to see cap tables that are built local to international as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's on my mind in terms of the founder space, but it's kind of become a little sort of culty, if you will, right? I mean, that
Okay.
founder community, while it's important that there is a good, solid fraternity and community, the cultiness of it, where I see founders talking about term sheets and valuations as though it was a textbook thing, or a view of what the market should do for them. It's just absolutely nonsense. You want my money, it's in my terms. It's demand and supply.
Sure.
Don't talk to me about what I should do for you because you are a founder from Nigeria or Luanda or Rwanda, right? I mean, that's nonsense. So I think that's kind of what I'm seeing in the founder space.
Okay, I can sense that you're really happy about it. No. Thank you so much for that, Vishal. And I'm just conscious we only have a couple of minutes left. As I said, if anyone's got any questions for Vishal, please do put that in the chat. Future prospects for you, investments or Africa as a place to invest. Yeah, any thoughts that you have?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that I think that folks like me must come to the table to support our African founders and startups and technologies and play a role. And I intend to play more of a role and be more active in that space. Raj and I'm just about to announce and put out a new podcast. Stay tuned for that. And what that will do, hopefully, is capture the tales of our entrepreneurs and leaders from industry and bring them together and be able to give them a little bit of a voice. So to the extent that, we have voices, we want to lend them to help our industry and founders succeed. To the extent that we have opportunity, we want to invest and create value. And like I said somewhere in this segment, that I am tired of our best fruit and vegetable disappearing from our dinner tables. We live and breathe here. We must get some of the action ourselves.
Absolutely. It's really important. I've got a question, a really good one actually from Temi. Temi, hi. She says, or he, why does it seem as though in recent times investors focus on fintech companies, even though a lot of these companies render very similar service and leverage more on their potentials? What hope does non-fintech startups with traction and potentials in Africa have?
Hey, Temi, you are absolutely right. And I've been giving myself therapy every day that I have enough of fintech in my portfolio. Let me kind of try to make an excuse for why I have so much of fintech. I'm a deal maker. I'm an investment banking guy. I understand money. I know how money flows. It makes sense to me. It works. And perhaps the fintech guys have searched me out a little more aggressively than others. But what is on my mind a lot is to look for health tech companies, to look for some logistic companies, look for some real deep problem solving. I have some big data plays in my portfolio, and increasingly so. I'd like to grow some of those. Health tech is definitely on my mind. I think we need to do better in terms of, to your point or your tongue-in-cheek point of finding other sectors to invest in. I've been interested in some agriculture stuff, but not found the right platform. So pitch me.
Yeah, I was going to say, Temi, oh, thank you. She says thank you. They say thank you. If you've got any, now is the time, Temi, if you've got any ideas, yeah, pitch him. Okay, any parting thoughts for you, Vishal? Advice to our startups, perhaps?
Look, I'm delighted to see so much of a growing interest in a relatively short period of time in this space, and I'm really encouraged by that. Right? I would like it to not be a cult culture, but be a value-added culture that creates meaningful businesses. And my parting thought is that, look, as a career professional, I took great pride in being able to showcase our people, our practices at a global stage, right? So I hated people saying the local teams of Africa. I hated people calling us local. Well, you're local to New York as much as I'm local to Nairobi or Lagos. So that stuff must change for us. And that changes by providing great governance, being at a world-class standard, by not compromising, not taking shortcuts, not being, not holding a different standard to our people as one would expect elsewhere.
Yeah.
So that's really important to me as an investor, as a board member, as a mentor, hopefully.
Yeah, brilliant, Vishal. Some really great points there from you. Really inspiring. Huge thank you to you, Vishal, for sharing with us in the last half an hour. It's been really insightful and inspiring. I hope everybody else enjoyed it too. I don't see any more questions, so we're going to end our session here and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you so much, Vishal.
Fantastic. And for
Have a good day.
those of you that are asking to contact, it's Vishal's Voice on LinkedIn and Twitter and on IG. Drop me a DM and I'll write you back. I'll give you my WhatsApp number.
Lovely. All Vishal's information is on the platform as well, so you can get it that way.
Fantastic.
Brilliant. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Take care, Vishal. Take care. Bye-bye.